Hi, I'm Carolyn, and with the People Kickstarter, I help startups, scale-ups, and SMEs in tech to manage people well, to craft company culture intentionally, and to maximize impact with compelling communications along both. Because with the power of these three, you pull your team together long-term and are able to build a long-lasting, successful company. In today's episode, we speak with Moreno Feltscher from smartive. And I'm super excited that you're here, Moreno. We're going to talk about how to organize, how to find the way that works for your company in regards of culture and how that reflects in how you do things, etc. And we will also talk about pay transparency, and I'm really excited about that one. So thanks for joining me here at Video House in Zurich, and I'm really happy you're here.
Thanks for having me. Also really happy to be here.
Awesome. Should we jump right in and you tell me a little bit about what smartive does, what your role is?
Smartive is a web agency. We work for different customers. Our client base is quite wide. So we have startups, but also big companies who we're developing web applications for. And a little more than 2 years ago, we also started going more into user interface design side of things. Yeah, so that's our main area that we work in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And what is your role at smartive?
My role, well, that's always hard to say. Foremost, I'm a software developer, but inside the company, I have different roles. I think we're going to talk about this a little more because we have a role-based system. Mm-hmm. One of my roles is people. So I do stuff like onboarding of new hires. I do the paychecks and stuff like that. Well, I don't do them, but it's one of my responsibilities. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is one of them. And then I have a couple of others, but I guess that's the most important one for you today.
Yeah, that's super interesting, of course. So I noticed you didn't say like a title. You described your role.
Exactly.
So, and I do know that you don't have a CEO or C-level titles as such altogether. So how come? And how did that happen?
Yeah, that's interesting. It's actually true. Nobody at our company has a title. We have different roles. When we started the company, we had an executive board in the first couple of years. We always had the idea that we have to have flat hierarchies until that point that, well, it's nonsense in itself if you have flat and hierarchy and we had that problem that some of our new employees were under the assumptions that there is no real hierarchy and they can decide themselves. And that's also what we always strive for. But then at some point that got into the way and we decided to get rid of the executive board altogether, which was consisting of the two co-founders, Thilo and Peter, and me, because I was the first hire. And yeah, that's how we got rid of that. We never really had titles like CEO and stuff like that, but we had kind of a board.
Yeah. Okay.
And,
So that what you're saying is that you had joiners who understood from how you hired them that you have a very flat organization.
Yes.
And then they understood they would be very much involved in decision making, and then the reality was different.
Exactly.
Okay.
We tried to involve everyone in decision making, but in the end we still had that last word, a famous last word. Well, not for every decision, but for the big ones.
Yeah.
And and I at that time, I totally understood those new hires who were like, well, that's not really what you promised. It sounded different. And to us, it was kind of different, but I don't know, the way we lived it was not really the way we wanted it to live. And this is how we got to that point.
Okay.
We decided to get rid of that.
And then once you realize that it kind of clashes,
yeah.
What did you do? Did you just like sit down and say, okay, these new hires are right? Or how did you come to changing how you organize?
It was really funny because like the whole thing came kind of bottom up. And then, but what we did, Thilo, one of the co-founders, he stepped out and was like, well, I'm going to look for a solution for that problem. And what we came up with was the advice process. I guess you read about that, that we have such a thing. It's also the way how we decide on things. And we implemented that, and that works really well. That was a little more than 5 years ago now. We still have that in place. And we make all our decisions based on that model. It's kind of a little toolbox that we use. And and it doesn't involve any hierarchy or whatsoever.
Okay, so that means like every voice counts.
Yeah.
And has the same weight. There you go.
Well, not really. It's interesting. Like, it's a really interesting concept. Like, if you want to change something or like have new ideas, the way that it works is like you make a proposal and you ask for feedback. And the way you do that is normally you see that who is affected by that change. You get feedback from these people, and on the other hand, like, do you have like experts in this field? And then you get feedback from them as well. And like, based on that feedback, you decide on how to proceed. Like, is this advice process going forward and into an implementation phase, or like, do you get rid of it? And the really interesting thing about it is it's just feedback. So you can overturn it. Like, even though like everyone tells you like it's not a good idea, you can still do it.
Oh.
And this it's a really interesting concept, and we were kind of a little afraid of it in the beginning. After 5 years, I can say it's working really well.
Okay.
Because that's how we work. Like, it's you would never like betray your friends or stuff like that. Because like if everyone tells you not to do something, you don't go ahead and just do it. That's just not the way we work together. So it kind of works quite well. Yeah.
Okay, so you built that process or that principle based on how you want to work together, the values,
exactly,
the culture you want to have.
Yeah.
And then you manage to hire those people who who actually go along with it well. Or did you ever have like conflict in this process, or like somebody was super dissatisfied and you had to solve that?
Yeah, there is conflict potentially sometimes. Especially when people think that they're not like, if they don't get asked for feedback, but they think like I should be involved. That might be the main point. But other than that, like, once the decision is made, we all fully support it. Yeah, I think all time. I think all of the times. Yeah.
Sounds very Swiss to me.
Yeah, I know.
Like, you can have an initiative or referendum, and then.
I also I have to say, like, this only works it only works in environments that are really like, the culture has to be right? Yeah. And we were lucky. Like, most of the new hires or most people that are working at smartive knew each other beforehand, so it's kind of like a friendship thingy. So that helps a lot. I have to admit. Yeah.
Does it ever get in the way that you're friends in that way, or?
That's a good question.
Because I typically feel like lots of startups even strive to be that friend community, and it's just super important to them. And then on the other hand, I feel like, well, it's a contract.
Yeah.
There will be tough moments. There will be tough decisions. There will be tough conversations. And how do you handle that with friends? And you said it earlier, you don't want to go against your friends. Does that impact the business?
It hasn't so far, but I see the potential. That's true. Where I see it sometimes is when we give each other feedback. because like, it's something very personal sometimes, and it's easier to give negative feedback to somebody that you don't really know, I guess. But that's the only thing. Like other than that, it's never gotten into our way so far.
I get what you mean. Like, you know, that person in that way, right?
Exactly.
You don't want to hurt them or criticize them so that they feel not valued or something.
Yeah, that's
okay.
Yeah.
But do you give negative feedback?
We try to.
You learn.
We learn. Yeah. This is one of the main topics. I also, one of my roles is also culture navigator. That's another role that
Love
I have.
it.
Yeah. And what we sometimes do is we do workshops, mostly with like external people that help us organizing these workshops. Right now, we just finished a series of workshops about feedback. Yeah, because that's probably one of the most important ones in a company like this. Like if you don't have if you have no hierarchy, or you don't have a boss that tells you this is right and this is wrong. So it's quite hard, because like you also have to communicate on the same level. You don't communicate up or down, and it's challenging, but it's fun.
Yeah, it's certainly a skill that you not naturally have.
Yeah, exactly.
Or when you join a company, you know that this is a skill I will have to apply. Yeah. Because we are so used to these hierarchies, and somebody says left or right or straight or very interesting.
We also have like different tools available for giving feedback. One of them, because we are a software company, of course, they're all like some online tools. But we have a Slack bot that helps us, where you can give 5-finger feedback. Yeah. It basically works like, this is good. I want to point this out. This was shitty. This is like, this also, because it's what is it called? The ring finger. Yeah, it's like a really good thing. And this one didn't get enough attention, in my opinion. So this is one of the things. It's like a playful little tool that helps to give feedback.
That's really cool, because you made a symbol out of it with the hand. Yeah. You gave every feedback stage a symbol. Yeah. And it is part of your culture at the same time. Exactly. So you mentioned you bring in people from external to help you with getting your ideas to actually doable concepts or instruments. So you mentioned earlier too that Thilo like pulled himself out of the situation where you wanted to step away from having that board. Did he like do that on his own? Did he get help from external, and how did that
Actually,
work?
He did it all by himself. Like, but the idea of the advice process is nothing new. I think it's from Reinventing Organizations. So there is like a lot of literature around these topics. So, and he stumbled upon this, and he was like, well, that kind of fits our purpose. It's perfect. So we took that. Yeah. But he did it on his own. Yeah. Still really grateful. It's really cool. Yeah.
So there is a lot you can do by yourself if you're brave enough to try.
Exactly.
And you get the resources and you work your way through it, right? Yeah. That's really cool. And then you mentioned also that it kind of happened bottom up. So let's like the bottom up thing. Is that part of your culture too?
Well, not anymore, because there's no top and bottom, but like
okay, then let's say it differently. Maybe it's co-creation.
Yeah, that's definitely part of our culture. Also, we really like my role, like with the culture navigator. We always go out and like motivate people to do advice processes, because that's what brings us further. And so it's a kind of a co-creational thing. For example, one really interesting example is that we have a new office now in St. Gallen as well, because we have a lot of people living there. And this group was like, well, I don't want to go to Zurich every day, but I also don't want to do home office because I can work better in a work environment or like in an office environment. So their advice process is to just open a new office in St. Gallen. And this is really cool because it was a group of people who decided that, and they built it. They looked for office spaces, all that kind of stuff.
That's really cool. Yeah. It's really co-created.
It's co-created. Yeah.
And for you, the originals. Let me call you the originals.
Okay. Yeah, that's good.
Thilo, Peter, and yourself. Yeah. How is that for you now? Like seeing there's a location being set up and it's not us.
Yeah.
And it's just like happening and you watch it and it works.
Now it's really cool. In the beginning, it was really hard because you have to let go of certain things. You cannot oversee everything. That's also one of the, I talked about, like there was some kind of anger about the whole executive board thing, right? But like the other thing that we realized quite quickly is that it's not scaling. It's not scaling well. Like if you grow and you have 3 people who are in charge of everything, it's not gonna work. So for us in the beginning, it was, I'm gonna admit, like it was kind of hard because like you let go. But now looking back, it was like the best decision we made, because like if that kind of stuff happens, like a new office gets opened and stuff like that, it's really nice for us to see that. Yeah.
Do you still have like a veto or something? Let's say you don't at all. If you feel like, okay, something's happening, but I really don't think it's a good idea. And you earlier said that, it's not like one person says I'm against it and then it won't happen. It can still happen.
Yeah. No, we don't.
You don't.
No.
You fully trust the process of the team.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there any secret to getting to trust your team? Because that really is a lot of trust that you're giving.
But then again, I think the secret for us was like, whose company is it? Is it like ours, or is it like the people that work there? And like we kind of early on decided that it's not just ours; it's all of ours. And that's also one of the things is that 24 out of 26 people who are working at smartive are shareholders. So it's really, it also on this kind of level, it's people's company. And so
they get to decide.
Exactly.
Yes. Wow. Super interesting. And I just had another thought about this journey of yours, because I feel it's a huge learning curve.
It's huge.
And I guess it's not going like this.
No.
And you're like, I start here and I just learn how to do it. But it's more like it's working, it's not. Oh, why did we do this? Oh, now it's awesome. Oh, we should go back. So how did that go for you?
It's kind of, the funny thing is, and that helped, I guess, is that we are used to develop software, and it's like it's a really agile way we chose. Like you try out things, they might work, they might not, and then you iterate over it. And the whole smartive way kind of feels like that. It's like, because we had different systems in place, when we started out with the whole executive board, we already had certain groups that were responsible for certain topics, because at some point we realized we cannot do all ourselves. And then we kind of had the advice process and we got rid of the groups because we were, now everyone can decide on their own and can start initiatives. And then, but we roll back to that because now we have roles again. So it's kind of, it's up and down. Well, I wouldn't even say up and down. It's like, it's just, you get rid of stuff that don't work and like try out new stuff. And then like, if that works perfect, you implement it. Otherwise you get rid of it as well. Yeah, it's a changing system.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. And you say something very true here, because it's a living system.
Yeah.
The culture is a living system.
Yeah.
A team is a living system. I mean, it's humans.
Yeah,
it's like a no-brainer.
Yeah, exactly.
But at the same time, so many leaders, company leaders, CEOs, whatever we want to call them, are so afraid of, first, what you said, let go and trust. And second, to really like try things out.
Yeah.
It's this thought of, what if it doesn't work out? What if it goes wrong? Then my business is dead. So did you ever get that thought of, this is a crucial like advice process. This
Absolutely.
is crucial. It could break everything. Were you scared? What did you do? Like, did you try to influence it? Did you really let go? Or what's your tip to learn to trust and let go and be not afraid of trying and iterating?
That's a good question. Maybe the good thing about this is like if it really goes down, we still have time to change things because of exactly that culture that we live. It's also kind of, sometimes it's a little bit of a fail fast culture. I wouldn't emphasize on that really, because like most of the stuff we do is really well planned but we have the ability to change quite quickly. So if we really see, okay, this is something that's not going well and that jeopardizes the company, we can still change it. But like to take the fear, yeah, it's really, I know it's really hard because I had one advice process, and I think we're gonna talk about this later. You said in the intro, like the paid transparent, our like transparent payment or like the salary system.
Yes.
Yeah. This was one of the points where we didn't really know how it's gonna evolve. We had numbers, but still we weren't really sure if that's gonna really work out. But also then I was clear about this, and I made it clear to everyone that if that doesn't work, we have to change it again. And everyone was on board with that. Yeah.
Okay, so then that's kind of your approach to all of these things, and people know, or it's part of how the culture manifests, that they know we're going to try things. We might go back to, we did it before, or we might change how we do things based on this process of co-creation. Because
it's also part of our DNA, kind of.
Yeah.
As I said, like the whole path was never really straight.
Yeah.
We had not really ups and downs, but like
left
detours
and right and
sometimes. But yeah, it's part of our DNA.
Yeah.
And everyone is on board with that, and they're fine with that.
Yeah. I love how it resembles the smartive way. You said it earlier. It's the smartive way, how we do things. It basically also resembles what you do, like the product, the way you work. And that is translated so beautifully in how you do organize.
Yeah.
So this, I really love it. And now you said it, the paid transparency or the transparent salary model.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it, because it's a huge thing at the moment. You even made it into the newspapers. Yeah. So congratulations.
Thank you.
And I know from my conversations with founders that they are very interested in learning how to do it, because it also seems attractive, because you don't have to have all these individual conversations, right?
Exactly.
And at the same time, you create trust and people know where they're headed and what's waiting for them, etc. But I'm going to let you explain how it works. So would you walk us through it?
Yeah, there's a lot of parts to it, but well, actually,
high level.
Yeah, that's high level. Yeah, it basically works. We have a base salary, and on top of that, like for new hires, we calculate their experience in the field and multiply this by a factor of 150 francs. And then if you bring certain qualifications, for example, a bachelor degree, a master degree, stuff like that, that gets added on. And this gives you like your start salary. And then we have a loyalty bonus kind of thing. Like every year that you work at smartive, your salary goes up 175 francs. For us, it was really important that this is higher than like the one that I mentioned before, like your expertise in the field, because like we were like, well, it's better to work at our place than at another. So that was one of the key things. Yeah, this is basically the base, and then we have other things like we also pay for children that you have, like 300 francs on top of the ones that you get from
Social Security.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And yeah.
Cool.
That's basically
yeah
what it is.
And does everybody know what everybody earns, or is it everybody knows what the system or the structure is and then they can think about what everybody earns? How transparent is it really?
Okay. I mean, everyone can calculate it, right? So for us, it was clear that we have to make it transparent anyways. And that came hand in hand. Like once we did that, also this was one of the first advice processes, and I started it off, and I really coupled these things together. Like I want to have a formula, plus I want to have that all the things transparent. Yeah. So that's part of it. And actually even kind of, you could probably calculate my salary now. I guess it's also, it's open. Like we wrote about it on our blog. It was also part of the newspaper article. So all the numbers are in there. And this was for me, this was really important. There was some doubt about this. Like, do we really have to have it out in the open? And I was like, yeah, because like for me, if we talk about like fair salaries, it can only be fair if you have the courage to also tell people from the outside, this is our model and this is the price, like this is the calculation. These are the numbers. Yeah, then it's really fair. Yeah.
So fairness is one of your values.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then you said, okay, if we take this value to salaries,
it's not really like it's not fairness in itself. It's not a value, and I have to emphasize on that, like, because fair is always. We had this discussion during that advice process. Yeah, when I started, I was like, I want to have fair salaries. And it was brought to me that fair is something that's different for every person. So I agree with that, because like if something's fair to me, it doesn't have to be fair to you. So what we changed it to is it's based on certain things. Like that's why it's like that's why that it's a formula now.
Yeah.
It's like
So but the perception is that they're fair.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
So individual perception. Yes. Yeah. And interesting enough is that research shows that pay is not motivator number one once it's perceived as fair.
Yeah, I heard about this.
Yes. So that's very interesting, and I would like to go there later to learn how. Do you motivate people once they know that this is a salary and they don't have this carrot dangling in front of them that they could have a pay raise, an individual one, I don't know, whatever. But let's go back to how the model in the system works. Do you pay equity to everybody who joins as part of the joiner package or the salary structure, or because you said earlier they are shareholders?
Yeah, exactly.
Do they have the opportunity to do it?
This is how it works is after 1 year you're eligible to get part of your bonus or the whole bonus as shares. And the way this works, you get a discount of 20%, which is really cool if you take your bonus as shares. But you can buy shares before that, but it's just your to the whole bonus thing. You can do that after 1 year at smartive. Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. And once I have shares, what else do I get? Do I get voting rights or more co-creation opportunities or?
No, not really. the thing is like, it doesn't really change how you can change things inside the company, to be honest. Because we only vote on, what is it called? Like once a year you do the General Assembly thing. That you can be part of that.
Yeah.
You can get a nice dinner, kind of. But other than that, you are. It doesn't like if you join the company and you can start your first advice process after 2 days, basically. Yeah. That doesn't change. You don't really have more rights in that kind of matter, like as a shareholder.
Okay, that's
but still, like as I said, like 24 out of 26 people decided they want shares because they feel like it's like also the company kind of belongs to them, and that's really nice. It's exactly where we wanted to go with that.
Because it's a different kind of attraction to being a shareholder as opposed to, wow, I get this big package of equity and then after 2 years I can leave and then I get this big paycheck, that startup mentality sometimes. So that's super interesting that people actually want to be involved without that monetary motivation.
And but I totally understand the whole equity package thing. But I always have to tell that like we were not like a real startup because like we never had a product. Well, we have one, but like that developed like 4 or 5 years into smartive. So we don't have investors kind of stuff. It's all owned by us. So it's bootstrapped. Exactly.
Yeah. But it's super refreshing that there is another way to do it.
Yeah.
So that's why I love your example so much. And also how you journeyed through all these learnings and got to create your very own company based on your very own principles and guidelines and how you see things and how you want to do things because you follow your heart in a way, right?
True.
Or that it sounds so cheesy, but it's like you follow your beliefs, and you stay true to yourselves, and then you just go that way. And often I feel like it's easier to do that once you don't have investors. Or,
I think so as well.
Because they often like to tell you how to do things.
Exactly. And I don't think investors would be really happy about certain things. I mean, and I totally understand because they have different goals sometimes.
Yes, exactly.
And for us, one of our key values is like people over profit. I don't think that big investors would love that. And I totally get it because it's, And, but this is, it would get into the way of the way we wanted to shape the company.
And that's another thing that kind of shaped how you decided to fund your company. You said we do it ourselves because that leaves us the freedom to decide the things how we want to do it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Another moment where you can follow your heart in that sense. So let's talk about motivation at smartive because we learned that pay is perceived as fair. So what drives your team?
I'd say there's one main thing, and that's friendship. It's like if I talk about like my coworkers, I kind of talk about like it's a little family, and I think this is one of the main motivators. And there is also the whole idea that you can change things, that your voice counts. That's really attractive to people. That really helps.
Did that sorry to interrupt,
sure.
Just jump on it. Did that ever get in the way when speaking of family, for example, in interviews or recruiting processes, because there's lots of different perceptions of family too. And some people may love it to hear, oh, it's like family because they have this super intact family, and others might just like want to run off because their family is totally dysfunctional.
Yeah, I'd probably not phrase it like that on an interview, but because it's intruding, right?
Yeah.
You kind of have to be part of the family then.
Or super loyal.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
accept things you don't want.
Yeah,
Patriarchy.
Yeah.
You know, like
it's not like that.
Yeah.
But what I realized over the years is we had some people coming in for interviews, and we explained the culture that we have at smartive and how it works, and they were like, well, not right away, but in the process, they were like, I don't think I can strive in this environment. And I was like, that's perfect. I love it. Because it's not for everyone, and that's okay. Yeah. So, yeah, it might be a little intruding sometimes. That's true.
Like you feel you have these obligations.
Yeah, but you don't actually.
You don't.
Nobody like is gonna hate you if you don't show up for family dinners. No, but
like once a year at least.
No, but no, it's not like that. But I guess this is the main motivator, and we also friendship is one of our. I think it's part. Yeah, it's part of our mission. Like, friendship is part of that.
Yeah.
So,
do you use these words in your job ads with friends or with family or like family or?
Okay, I have to admit something. I think we never really had a job.
You never did.
No.
Okay, that's another.
Yeah, it's a kind of mouth to mouth thing. Yeah.
Well, that's actually
I guess
a good
we
thing.
would actually.
You would?
Like, well, we had one, but that's like a couple of years back, and our values changed. Like, not that they changed in but like we kind of changed the phrasing of it. So now, because it's a really big part of working at smartive, we might really add it there.
Yeah, would need to be transparent in that regard as well, right?
Yeah, and we really want to be transparent about this. Also with new hires, we talk about the culture that we established. We talk about how we make decisions, stuff like that. Early on, actually it's like it kind of the part of the introduction to smartive. Yeah. So to see if that's something that they can see themselves in.
So you put a lot of focus on sharing how the culture is and how you actually work. And if you throw out a buzzword like transparency, you explain what that actually means. Because it can go different ways. There's a perception again. It could mean something very different for two people.
Absolutely. And I guess that's also transparency is like a really wide topic.
It's a very, very
really wide topic. Yeah. And but that's also I forgot about this as one of the motivators as well. I think because like we put out what transparency means to us. Yeah. And that's not just we're transparent about our salaries. Internally, we are also really transparent about our finances. So everyone can see how much money we have.
Wow.
Everyone can see how much money we earn and where we spend it. So yeah, it's really transparent. Yeah. There's no hidden corner somewhere.
Wow. Yeah, that's really walking the talk.
Yeah.
Because transparency is quite a popular value to like pin down on this list of 5 bullet points. And then, it's just like with companies where you have a CEO, you don't know what's going on. They make the decisions and you're not involved, you're not heard, you're not seen. You feel like, okay, well, I'm one of many.
But this is also, we had to have this in order to make the advice process work. Because how can you make a decision if you don't have all the information?
Very true. That's real empowerment.
Yeah.
You have to be empowered too. That's the next kind of learning you had to do, right? It's like one leads to the other.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, okay, now we have this. Oh, but this is blocking us. So we have to get this out of the way. Yeah. It's kind of that.
Yeah, I love it. It's very consistent. and very authentic, even though the word is kind of, used a lot, but it's very authentic because you don't stop the process, but you stick to your values, and then you follow each step. And once the next thing pops up, you're like, yes, we have to look at that now. And then you put the finger on it, and then you work through it until you find the solution that actually is aligned again with your culture and your values.
Exactly. Yeah.
You're such a role model, actually. So, before we wrap things up,
well, thanks to
the team. Yes. So before we wrap this up, let's say I'm a founder. I'm listening to Moreno now, and I'm really inspired what smartive does, or smartive. Sorry. What would be your tips to start with? 2-3 tips. What can I do to embark on the journey or try things out?
Yeah. One of the tips is probably go out and see what others do. Have a look at all the literature that's around. We said before this podcast, we said we're not going to talk about new work. I'm not going to talk about it, but
yes, true.
It's a huge topic that is there's a lot of resources around, and find out what's best for you. You cannot just go to some kind of company website and say we're doing the exact same thing. That's not going to work, because it has to align with your culture and the way you want to shape the company as well. That's one of the things. Look at all the resources that are around. And another thing is empower people. It's and trust them, really trust them, because there is, I think that's still we always say people are in charge and stuff, but they aren't sometimes. And if you really give that power to the people, they come up with brilliant ideas sometimes you would never think of, because you're one, but and you have 10 people in your team. 10 is more than one. So give them the power to really strive in this environment, and really also give them the power to decide on things. That's probably the main thing that I had to learn. These are really good tips. First, get out and see what's there. Then make it your own. Very important. Don't copy paste. Make it your own. Don't copy paste. And then second, power to the people. I like it. Empower them, trust them. It's that concept of psychological safety as well. Exactly. Because you can always say, everybody can speak up, but if they don't feel safe to speak up and know that something's going to happen and their voice counts, like you so beautifully do with your processes, then they just won't. And then they won't throw out ideas, because they might feel it's stupid. Something might happen. They will laugh at me. I don't know. It's bad for my performance review. Exactly. So. Yeah. And it's still a really big topic, I think. And I totally understand it. And I'm there sometimes as well. It's does that really make sense? Should I just throw this away and just, don't go with it? But then empower these people to speak up, to, share their ideas and thoughts. And open the door for innovation, productivity, happiness at work. And also, if it fails, empower them to try again. Because this is another thing. Don't just say, I told you so. It's that's the worst you can do. But really tell them, that's okay. Lessons learned. Now let's move on and try another thing. It's you can build, test, and iterate in that area as well. Wonderful. It works for culture as well. Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, even though it's, like you said, a living system. And it's more long term, but it works as well. Yeah, cool. Moreno, thank you so much. This was half an hour packed. We didn't even get to talk about all the things. New work, yes. That's another thing we kind of touched with pay transparency. That is new work. I'm very curious to see what else will be in the newspapers about the smartive and what else you will be coming up in the future. And thank you so much. And if you want to learn more about smartive and what Moreno does, or about the ppl.Kickstarter and what I do and how to work with either of us,
We will put links down here under the video. You can click them, check them out, our LinkedIn profiles, send us a DM, an email, whatever works for you. We'll be happy to get to know you. And if you like this video, give it a like, share a comment, send it to somebody who might find it useful too. And thanks so much for watching, and hope to see you next time in People and Culture Stories. Take care, bye.